War Eagle Auburn family, welcome back to another edition of E2C Network Live. This is our Auburn family weekly live stream. This is your show, as I should say, your calls, your comments, your questions. It is a show produced by you and for you. You create the content here, the topics that we discuss, everything within the Auburn family spectrum. Obviously, going to be heavy on the sports here on our discussion. But if it's orange and blue, it is what we do. Thank you for joining us, whether you are watching live or on the replay, whether you're watching here on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, however we can get you, we'll take it. And we appreciate you being here with us tonight. As we get started, do a couple things for me. Make sure you smash that like button if you are watching here on YouTube. If you're watching on social media, you can do similar things, retweets, share it into Facebook groups, all that good stuff. I know it seems like a small thing to do, but it is a hugely, if that's a word, helpful thing to do for us here at the E2C Network to continue to grow our little family in the Auburn family. And right now is our check-in period. Post where you're watching from, city, state, international, all of that good stuff. Right now, our check-in period. I already see a lot of familiar faces virtually popping in to the chat. It is a live call-in night, so the headphones are on. We will be opening up those call lines a little bit, not at this second, but just in a little bit for you to take advantage of. The link is available up top, so if you call in now, you have to wait for just a minute, but we will open that up as soon as I put the banner down below for you all. A couple things. So what would, obviously it's your show tonight. We can talk about that and keep you, kind of informed on what are some prevalent topics right now. There's a big commit coming up potentially for Auburn on Friday. Schedules for everything are coming out: soccer, volleyball, football. Obviously, we know, but now we're starting to get a picture of what your weekend might look like with everything announcing their schedule. Now, basketball continues to piece together their schedule. A lot of that type of stuff going on. Really, there's, it seems like there's going to be a point where there's nothing Auburn to talk about. As you can find out, we do a live show every Wednesday night. So there's obviously something Auburn to talk about. So those are some of the things that you can pick from tonight, but anything that you would like to discuss. Got one more thing for you. I know you want to get into your comments and questions, but I want to go ahead and get this right at the start of the show. And we'll mention it throughout and at the end as well. As of tonight, we are opening up our 2022 annual survey. If you would like to take part in that, which I hope you will, say take you probably 5 minutes or less, maybe if you're fast at those type of things. It is of huge help to us at the E2C network to figure out what you want from us. If you think it doesn't make a difference, let me just tell you this: we didn't have a super prominent YouTube channel until about a year ago, about the time you guys did the survey and said, hey, we want YouTube and we want more of it, and that's why we're here. So I'm going to post the link right now in the chat. If you will please check that out and do that maybe after the stream, or if you're not watching on your phone, you could do that now. But it is of huge assistance to us. We'll mention it throughout the stream tonight. All right, let's say hello to everybody. We got Kevin checking in. Good to see you. Simp for Icy. I don't know if this is a new person. War Eagle. Dustin, War Eagle. My bathtub. You're watching from the bathtub. I don't know how I feel about that, but Pensacola Flauta. Thomas, good to see you. Jack says recruiting this past 2 weeks has made me extremely upset. And this is why I stress to you, Jack, don't get so invested in recruiting. It will do nothing but ruin your life. I promise. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't, enjoy it a little bit, but I've been right. I'm not trying to say like I'm some holier than thou person, but I've been right where you are, man, where the weeks that didn't pan out how I thought they would, I don't really care anymore. Took me a while to get there, though. Devin says, War Eagle from the couch in Texas. Good to see you. Andrew, are Auburn going after any more transfers to add this year's roster? That's a good question. I don't know of anybody specifically. I've seen a couple of people announce that they were entering the transfer portal, and then certain personalities and Twitter handles and things like that, would like it or tag in. So that leads people to think that, oh, wow, Auburn's going to go after them. I think Auburn has addressed all of its identified issues. Depth at the interior defensive lineman, the edge rusher position. They brought in a linebacker. They brought in a few defensive backs, a safety, and a cornerback early on in the transfer portal. They brought in quarterbacks. They brought in wide receivers. Not really on offensive line, although we don't really need technically offensive line. I know that's a discussion to be had, as we always do. But my answer to that question would be this. I think Auburn has filled all its needs. Anything else you get is just gravy. That's just kind of the way I would look at it. Let's see here. Love the reaction video from the face mask. Well, thank you for letting me know. Those are, we try to do some new things, especially in the off season. We've done something like that before. So what happened is Auburn Football Today released a little video of them looking at each of the face mask options they have, which, by the way, you guys post right now. What do you like? Orange, blue, or white for your Auburn football face mask? And they went through and said which one they would have. And I'll let you just go watch the video. Even if you don't want to watch the reaction video, you can go watch it on their social media accounts and see which one they picked as their favorite. It's pretty cool, actually. I had a good time with it. It was fun to do. Rob says Vandy has 8 hard commits. What is a hard commit? It's always interested me, like a commit, no matter how hard, doesn't mean anything these days. Yeah, just because I don't know what you're getting at there, Rob. If you're saying that Auburn's behind the 8 ball, I would assume that's what you're meaning by that, because Auburn has 2 for this recruiting cycle, an offensive lineman and a defensive back. Yes, that is correct. So yes, are they behind the 8 ball when you look at it in that sense? You forget. I'm not saying you, Rob, but we forget that Vandy is going after a different fishbowl than we are. Just saying. Carrie, good to see you. Thank you so much for the kind words. I'm glad that you are enjoying it. Corey from Hoover checking in. I missed some of the stream. What kind of questions are in the survey? So they're going to be stuff about what we do here on YouTube, our podcast, our social media content. It really is just gauging where you are at. It's anonymous. I mean, there's some identifier questions at the beginning to kind of tell us what type of follower, listener, fan, if you choose to view yourself that way, in relation to us, but we can't tell who you are. So really that's what it's about. It just helps us figure out what our audience wants now. And as I said, this YouTube channel wouldn't be what it is today had it not been for people responding to surveys. So if you want to affect change here, there you go. We need offensive linemen for 2023 reps. Understood, noted, 100% agree. It is very much a need to have some more, and the coaches recognize that, which is why I think they have put most of their eggs into that basket for 2023 in terms of offensive linemen, and didn't really focus on it for transfer portal and stuff, because much to people's chagrin, we kind of have all we need. Now we can argue whether the group that is there is worthy. I shouldn't say that. In other people's eyes, is worthy of that, and we didn't need some new blood. But I'm willing to let this group of seniors, super seniors, have one more season to figure it out, because what the heck. Let's see. You might, excuse me, I've knocked the microphone around there. Sorry about that. Kyle, you might as well get ready for some recruiting complaints. It really is getting hard to ignore at this point. Well, what do you mean, buddy? Elaborate. Call in if you can. By the way, I hope everything's going well with your family. If Auburn lands Brock Glenn, he will be a Hoss. A Hoss. Okay, yeah. I don't know why the capital H threw me off for us to get. There's a lot of people that are very high on Brock Glenn, and I think it's wise to maybe trust in Coach Harsin that he can go out there and find the right talent, no matter what star is on them or rating is on them. I think he is our track record that we had to work with him is so small that it's hard to make a judgment one way or the other whether Brock Glenn's going to work out at Auburn. Because let's be honest, we all thought Jeremy Johnson was going to work out, and where was proof for that to work out? Because he looked so good in the spot time that he filled in for Nick Marshall. Boy, did that implode! And don't start with. I already know where some of y'all are going with that, but don't even start it. Rob, so yes, if that's what you were referring to about being behind the 8 ball, remember that's in relation to Vanderbilt, who is going after a different group of other commits. That's not a slight at them. Auburn gets typically 99% of the time a different caliber type of player and is worth spending their time on that. And it takes longer time usually for a lot of those guys to make their decision. So just because Vanderbilt has 8 doesn't mean we're behind the 8 ball, and respectfully, sir. Thomas, I grew up on the blue face mask, but I do love those white ones. Orange is in third place because it looks better with the away jerseys than the home. Interesting. I think it looks better with the home jerseys. I don't like it's my third favorite, if you want to call it that, out of all of them. So white face mask, when I saw it in the full, what I call the stormtrooper uniform, just white on white on white. Wow. That's some good stuff right there. Let's see. Braden Joyner will be a good offensive lineman in 2023. I have high hopes for him, not just as a technical offensive lineman, but as a leader of this team for the next 4 to 5 years. Got a lot of hopes on him, not because simply of a type of recruit he is, but I think he's going to be my hope is that he'll be a leader. Usually the guys that sign first are your Deshaun Davises, I'm trying to think of some other guys, Kerryon Johnson. Oh, he didn't sign early. Other names that you probably all can think of as well. Kerry is apparently getting married tomorrow, so let's all congratulate him. Congratulations, Kerry. Ohio State is going after Brock Glenn. Well, that's usually a good sign, right? When you see a lot of other, I think the people, when you see your staff, your coach going after a player that's maybe a little quote unquote underrated in terms of stars and stuff, everybody gets a little concerned until they start seeing the other universities, the bigger universities start coming after him. That's a good sign that Ohio State had some pretty good quarterbacks of recent years, would be wanting him as well. And it just goes to show you that these rating systems, as fine-tuned as they are and as much time is spent on them by those experts, they're still not perfect. So, always keep that in mind. Rob, good to see you. Coming around here. Devin says, so when people say they have a certain number of commits, does that mean they haven't signed yet? That is correct. So, Devin, there are 2 signing periods. Why? It's stupid. It's not stupid. I shouldn't say that. It's taken away the excitement of the actual true signing day, which was always in February. Now, is it end of November, early December is the early signing period. And that really last year became Auburn's signing day, which was super exciting, super well. And then it just flopped on the real signing day, which I still disagree with people who panicked over that vehemently, because you're not looking at it within the context of the situation. But to answer your question, commits they have verbally committed and said to a coach, I am coming to your university. They have signed nothing, and they are fair game. Auburn has had several commits that chose to lie to Auburn, probably at the direction of Alabama coaches, and sign with Alabama on signing day, just to mess with us and stuff like that. I got pretty, I shouldn't say pretty. I have enough information that I'm pretty sure some of those things were true. You think of what was his name? Gosh, I'm blanking. I've blocked them all of my memory now, but some of y'all can probably think of them as well. Vandy might be last. Vandy will be last in the division again. Vandy was only relevant when James Franklin was there in the modern era. That man did wonders with that school. The Stormtrooper look, man, it doesn't get any better than that, in my opinion. I love our blue tops and white bottoms and, everything else that comes with that and the traditional home uniform. But there's something about that. Just first time you see that full white uniform with those white face masks, as a traditionalist, I can get on board with that. That is pretty cool. Rob says, been offline for a couple weeks, so we missed out on recruiting. I don't really know. Jack seems to think we've missed out on a couple. But that's, to me, I focus on the recruits that I know are here and that are probably coming. This kid from Catholic, the running back, blanking on his name. I'm blanking on a lot of people's names tonight. I'm getting old. He is one you can probably hopefully bet on coming to Auburn. Now that I've said that, I've jinxed us. So I'm invested in him. He seems like a guy that's been all about Auburn since the best. Let's see. Devin says, I guess I don't understand why people are up in arms about teams having commits when they could change their minds, not calling anyone specific out, obviously just making an observation. And it's a good observation. And that's kind of, in essence, what I was saying. And so if you're someone who's worried about numbers and stuff like that, just remember, this is if you are worried within the context of what's happening right now, you're being a little short-sighted, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. So I think it's time to just kind of take a step back, take a breather, trust the coaches. There's not a track record yet of them failing in terms of recruiting. They've been here for one full year, and really this staff hasn't been together. Let them do their jobs, and then we can start evaluating. Can you put up the link or the site for the Facebook? So, Paul, you are on Facebook. The best thing that I can do for you is to tell you to come on over to Facebook. Just type in E2C Network and you will find us, and subscribe there. That way you always get it. Typically, we post them online. Reasons why I didn't share that one outside of some Facebook groups and things like that. Nothing super weird or anything like that. Just there's reasons. It's part of the testing of something. But that is how, if you're on Facebook, you will be able to, or excuse me, if you'll come over to YouTube, you will be able to find that one. Reuben Foster, thank you. Reuben Foster even got an Auburn. But Devin, this is how uncommitted commits are. Reuben Foster flipped from Alabama to Auburn in a big public conference thing, and then did the same thing a few months later after he got an Auburn at tattoo. Now, there's a little bit more context that needs to be said there. He had a cousin, I believe, that went to Auburn who passed away. It was a very tragic event, and it was more, he claims it was more to honor him than because he was coming to Auburn. Sure. I'm not going to argue with someone who lost a family member, but it's a little bit hard for me to wrap my head around. So that's how uncommitted hard commits are. So just remember that. We have recruits that we could say we are looking forward to and make us excited for the new season. We have done well in recruiting on defense. Yeah, definitely. I think defense has not been wanting from that and the transfer portal. I think what would make them feel really, really a lot better is if there were some offensive line recruiting started to come in. And that's the thing that you have to remember, is that if you're wanting to go after the best of the best, these guys, they wait. Because part of the reason is because they know they've got all the options on the table. But part of the reason for some of them, they like the showmanship, the game. These are 18-year-old kids who like the attention that they're getting. And so they're going to drag it out. They're going to pretend. They're going to post these things, my top fives, and then they're going to do their little hat thing. And I'm not arguing that that's wrong or anything. It's not what I would do. But that's part of the game, and we feed into it. The accusations are facts. Dustin, I always say that you'd have to be an idiot not to know that stuff's going on with Alabama and to all college sports to some degree. But I always like to leave room for error when I make statements like that, because you can be wrong and things can change as much as people don't want to believe that can happen. Let's see. Another fan of the Stormtrooper outfit. Robert Woodyard, I remember we flipped him from Alabama to Auburn. That was a huge news. Yes, it was. That was very much one, though, in my opinion, that they knew was coming, and they knew he was going to flip. And in fact, they tried to argue like that. We didn't want him anyway. We pushed him out. I'm like, we'll see how much you didn't want him. Let's wait and see how good he is, and then you can make those statements. Linda, good to see you. The only thing that made me upset is the recruiting is the people pushing back on their decision when they look to be locks for us. Why does that upset you, Jack? It's their decision. I'm just asking. I'm not, confronting. Why do you get mad over their big life to choice decision? If something's been presented to them that they want to change, then They may need to. Jeremiah Cobb, that was his name, the running back. Whew. It was a really delayed response to me forgetting someone's name, the running back that's committing Friday, supposedly. Yes, look, it can be frustrating. And if you, I feel like I'm preaching to you a little bit here, and I hope you don't feel that way. If you invest that much energy into this stuff, it will continue to make you upset. I am living proof of that. It's why I got out of the recruiting game to the extent a lot of people in. I follow it. I get excited when I feel like someone's coming this, but I don't get invested in it. Try not to. As easy as I say that, yeah. Corey's looking at okay, so it's a great point and topic to bring up. Who is planning on buying at least one ticket this year? Has anybody already got their tickets? How is everybody like thinking about that? Corey brings up that the Penn State game is $218. The face value, I saw this posted in the Facebook group. They'll usually post the face value so people know if they're getting ripped off. $218 is the lowest thing. I would say that's probably still very high. I would suspect the price to go down a little bit, even regardless of how the teams are doing. It's going to be a 2:30 game. If this was a night game, that price is warranted. This is going to be a 2:30 game, mid-September in Auburn, Alabama, in the heat, in the sun, probably. Price will go down. Not much, but it'll go down. I will be on campus. I don't know that I will be purchasing a ticket for that game. Probably the first game, but not that one. Oh, you dropped 300? Was that for multiple games or was that for that game? Jeez. Hunter Osborne, that's that offensive line recruit commit, I believe. Already got tickets for Auburn the first two games, and most times I'd rather watch on TV. And I get that to some degree. I get that people want to stay home, and with the way the economy is these days, that's probably a wise choice on your part. Some of us don't have the luxury when their business is predicated around being on campus and stuff like that. I enjoy, to me, look, I'll take Auburn however I can get it, but for me, there's nothing better than being on campus during the fall and just being part of the atmosphere. It's part of the reason I don't get super disappointed if I don't get to go into the game, because I just go watch it in the student center and I still get to experience everything, or I go to a tailgate or something like that. Chances are I usually find myself going into the games more often than not. I have a feeling this year that people are going to be holding on to their tickets a little bit more though. But yes, watching from home, perfectly fine. I think the defense will be pretty good. I hope so, my friend. I really, really hope so. The Missouri game was pretty cheap. We got great tickets for $65. You made a great choice too, Devin, of buying them early. That's the thing now, is now that with Auburn releasing this week, and we talked about it a little bit in our Ever to Podcast video this week about the process of which they release those tickets. Right now they're doing those package deals of, if you want the Penn State game, or I guess, yeah, still got that in, or if you don't want it, then they'll do 4 3-game packs, and then they'll release whatever's left, single game tickets, and then you'll have to go to the secondary market. The longer you wait in the process, up until basically the day of and right before kickoff, it's going to be high, because demand, right? But if you are smart and you can, I shouldn't say smart, if you are willing to take a chance and watch some of those online sites as it gets closer and closer to kickoff, you might find yourself a decent price ticket, proportional to what the game is. I go with a friend who gets season tickets and we go to all the home games. Well, aren't you just lucky, Linda? Some of us are not that lucky. Well, I will be honest. I have a friend last year. I think they'll be going to the games more often this year, that either sold or gave me tickets a lot. Like I said, I don't think that'll happen a lot this year, and rightfully so. So I shouldn't complain. But I will definitely buy my tickets early for at least one game to ensure that I get to see one game in the beautiful Jordan-Hare Stadium. It's probably going to be that first game. First 5 games are at home. We might be 4-1 after playing those games. I think we're going to be 5-0. Listen, I think it's reasonable to think we go 4-0. I am all about the 5-0 energy. Yes, Coach Harsin, I agree with you. 1-0 needs to be our mentality every week. Just worry about that game. But I am all about planning and believing that we are going to be 5-0. I might be setting myself up for failure with that. Probably am. But that's what I want to believe. We're going to be 5-0 coming out of that homestand. No, I cannot always afford tickets. Look at my bank account. You will know that. I do most of what I do is based off of sharing the experience and not so much of your game breakdowns and stuff like that, like a lot of other people do. We do post-game shows here. We're going to do those, but it's more about what you guys think and a little bit of what I think and not necessarily deep dive analysis. Her hubby is a Bammer. Oh man, well, you got the sweet deals. Now she's got you to go with. The times of selling tickets at games have completely changed to the new digital tickets. I miss the paper tickets, Rob, as I've said before, but it has made it so much easier and frankly, in some ways safer. Yeah, everything's got its hitches, right? But yes, it is changed dramatically, maybe for the better in most aspects. When you receive them, you always print them out, but you don't have it in like the traditional card stock that they put the normal tickets on, right? It's just a paper ticket. You know, I'm talking about the card stock stuff that's nice and somewhat thick card. It's like the thinnest piece of cardboard that they could find. That's what I'm about. Let's push this right now. The 5-0 mentality. None of this we're expecting to lose to Penn State or Missouri or LSU. We're taking them down. 5-0 is my expectation. Now, after that, woo, could get a little dicey. But at home, we better be 4-1. I'm planning on us being 5-0. All your relatives and friends are Bama fans, so nobody gives me Auburn Kevlar. That is so sad to hear. That's tough, man. That is real tough. People have us losing Penn State, and I understand that. I think it is our toughest matchup to that point, and there's going to be a lot of questions around that game, just like the last game. But look what Auburn did in that environment. Granted, you had a probably better starting situation than Auburn might find themselves. Auburn may be in a better starting situation when they begin this season. We just don't know. There's so much unknown. I just have faith in what Coach Harsin's been wanting to do, the fire that's been lit under him, these players, and what they see in front of them, that 1-0 mentality to just worry about each of these games and know that they're at home and they're not going to let us down. And even if they do, they'll pick themselves back up and be better for it. The shirt I'm wearing, it is the Cam Newton years, the 2010 national champions. Let me pull that down. It is actually from the locker room. And I think everybody could have bought this, but this was specifically taken from, I only wear it for, I don't wear it out. I just wear it for these shows, from the locker room right after they won the championship. So the players, came from their box. Had a friend who was very kind to me. So I treasure this one a lot, definitely. I still have my ticket from when I went to the Auburn. Oh, that was a good one. Devin, I'm so jealous that you were there to see Bo drop back and throw that to Seth Williams in the end zone to win the game with 3 seconds left. God, that was good. Oh, I was so hyped after that one. You could not tell me to sit down in my own living room. It was so good. I'm so jealous you got to be there. I was hoping to be at that game, but I had instead chose to go to the Swamp, and we lost that game. But my goal is to go visit each of the SEC stadiums in my lifetime, hopefully. And I've been to Mississippi State, Kentucky, LSU, Gainesville, and which is Florida, for those of you who don't know. And is that it? Yeah, so that's all I've been to. So I had to take the Gainesville option because we barely ever see them when you could. So I used the money I would have spent for the Oregon game in Dallas to go to Gainesville. Was it worth it? It was fun. I had a good time. Oh, let's see here. Before last year, we hadn't beat LSU in Baton Rouge. I think that is how you spell it. It is not how you spell it. It's just Baton, but it is a nice streak that is finally in it. All right, we got our first caller tonight, so we'll jump back into some of your questions and comments in just a little bit. But let's say hello to Mr. Thomas Manville. Thomas, I forgot to put up the call-in link reminder down below, and that's what people were waiting on. I forgot all. Sorry, buddy.
It's all good, man.
How are you this week?
I'm doing good. It's been a busy week gearing up for the 4th of July, but it's been a good week.
This always sneaks up on me, 4th of July, for some reason. Like I turn around and June's done and it's like the summer's halfway over, man. Where does the time go? I mean, honestly, we're all praying it's over soon because of the heat that it's brought, but I enjoy summer just because it is somewhat of a break from the normal grind of what I have to do, but a lot of people have to do as well. So what's on your mind this week, though?
It's time for defense. We finished up the offense.
I'm glad we got through that, but you made me more excited for the offense than I thought I would be. So I'm excited to see what you've got to think about the defense. Where are we starting this week?
Man, let's go ahead and hit the D line. Like that's my favorite part so far.
The D line. Let's do it.
There is a wealth of riches on our D line right now. Pardon me, I'm dealing with 2 screens this evening here. We've got some dogs up there that are coming back, and then we've added some good depth, even though it's not longevity depth in our transfers we brought in.
Right.
But hey, Colby Wooden, dude, the guy his body of work speaks for itself. Like just watch it play. He's got it. He's got all the measurables that anybody could want. He's an NFL guy playing in the SEC right now. Right. He really. So super excited to see. I mean, he can cut it loose, but I just want to see him cut it loose again. I'm ready for this season to start now. I just want to play.
I'm all about that.
And as much as I love the O-line, when you see a good defensive player, you got to really you got to do your work. You got to dig in on it and go, all right, who is this dude? He's the dude. He's the dude. He is what I wanted Nick Coe to be a couple years ago.
Right. Oh, I forgot all about Nick Coe, man.
Well, read enough about him and then didn't see enough of him, so there it went.
Right. Unfortunate.
Marcus Harris is back, and I wasn't super high on him when he first came in last year. I'm going, all right, so he's from Montgomery area. He knows Auburn. He grew up in SEC country, went to Kansas and played. He's a little undersized for an interior lineman, and then he shocked me with what he was able to do. His quickness, his first step is great. And now they've put a whole bunch of weight on him, and he still looks that fast.
Yeah.
I'm excited about him being there. I think the defensive line is the reason that we brought in those particular transfers is they've played a lot of ball. We don't have to, they've played a lot. They don't have to be coached into playing the position to add depth. Right. We're not relying on a sophomore that's only played in one game against blah, blah, blah Tech in homecoming for 8 plays. We're not relying on that.
Right.
We've got a lot of depth along the D line. People were worried about edge rusher, saying, "Oh, we only have Hall and Leota." No, we got some other dudes now.
Mm-hmm.
Starting Marcus Bragg, the guy I think it was Western Kentucky.
Yep.
Or he came from, and he's got good measurables. He's got good size. He's got a lot of games played, but he never really was a starter up there. Right. So I went back and I dug through YouTube and found some old games. I'm going, where is he? Where is he? And I had to wait to see him later in the game when somebody needed a break. Right. But he's a graduate. I think he might be the graduate, or Morris Joseph's the graduate transfer. They got 1 year left.
Mm-hmm.
So you come to somewhere to just add depth to the team. If we're rotating a lot, you're going to play some. Yep. You're not fixing to take Eric Hall's spot by any means. I don't see you taking Eku Leota's spot either, or his reps. But if you're going to rotate a lot of guys to keep them fresh, you need guys that have already been out there.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. I'm very high on Marcus Bragg, and I think a lot of people, when we made a video about him, not that they were like discounting him, but like I think a lot of people are missing his value that he brings, and it's not because he's a starter, as you said. Like you said, this rotation that needs to be there of reliable, experienced talent. That, and I'm sure you're going to talk about him in just a minute, maybe. there's a guy that we're all excited about, a younger guy on the defensive line, but you got to have experience that you can rotate in with that young, promising talent to get them to that point where they can be relied upon. And this is the year to do that.
Yeah, I think you were talking about Mr. Brooks, were you not?
I was talking about Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, I think he's gonna play a lot this year, man. Especially if we're rotate, we need fresh legs. He's got young, fresh legs, and he's a big dude too, to be that young and to be that size. And he's had a year in strength and conditioning. He's had a whole year in college basically to be in the system, get familiar with that workload based on what you do in high school, which is nothing compared to college, unless maybe IMG or somewhere like that.
Right.
But he didn't come from there. He played at Hadley down that south of me. So I'm sure they ran out there in the tall grass and the bugs and everything. They were in some like they are now. But yeah, I think he's going to be big for us. I think the big surprise at edge is going to be Joko Willis.
So if you
remember the LSU game, there was a massive, just decleated the guy on a kickoff.
Right. Yes.
That was Joko Willis.
Right.
He's listed as a linebacker. He transferred in. I believe he was a JUCO guy, and he was only about 210 pounds when he got to Auburn. He's 6'3", so he's lean and lanky. And for a dude to run that fast and hit like that, yeah, you put him at linebacker. But he's bulked up to about another 5 pounds. He's about 215 is what they have him listed as of 3 hours ago when I looked. But I think they're going to he'll probably be around 220, 225 when the season starts. I think he's going to play some edge. We saw him, he came off the edge in the A-Day game a couple of times, and that quick is deadly. It's deadly in the SEC because you got to have strength and quickness up the middle, but off the edge with the athletic ability of these running backs and quarterbacks in this league. But, buddy, you better be on fire.
Yep.
And he is. So I think he's going to play some linebacker. Because if you got a guy that's known for rushing the edge and he comes up there and they go, hang on, let's check out of this. And then he drops into a soft zone underneath where your relief guy is, he's fast enough to go over there and get that guy or get that ball. I'm just going to say it. Don't write it down, but I'll say it.
Yep. I'm really excited about what the traditional defensive line and the edge rushers are going to bring this year in experience, in a variety of talent. I mean, you've just got your all-around stars like your E. Cleotas, your Derek Browns. You got your reliable guys that get forgotten about, Marcus Harris. But then you've got those, other guys that are going to surprise. Like you think it's Joko Willis, I think it's Dylan Brooks, just in limited time. And then people are, tend to forget about Bragg. There's a plethora of a variety of talent there that I think is going to give some defenses offenses fits in the SEC. And it's going to allow the experienced, to some degree, linebackers to take advantage of that, which is then going to allow the younger, less in some areas experienced secondary to catch up to where they need to be to make this maybe a surprising defense. So as we talk about, it starts at the line and ends at the line. You set the pace, you set that inch. It's all going to be gravy at that point.
Yeah, whether it be the offensive line or the defensive line, if you can set the tone on that first drive and let people know they're in for a long night, you're getting somebody's head real quick on the line.
Right.
But in those first 5 games at home and one real particular big game, our secondary is a little inexperienced at this point. Some of the linebackers are. We need the D-line to perform incredibly well to give them time that they're not running around with their head on fire trying to figure out what's going on because they've never been in this situation before. So it's going to start, the whole tone of the entire season is going to start with both lines, and that's why I'm excited about them because especially D-line, man. We had Jason Jones that came in from Oregon. He's another transfer.
Yep.
That's a big dude. And he's very soft-spoken, it seems, but he's smart. And if he's more athletic than you would give him credit for at 6'6", 320, but he's a guy that requires a double team.
Yep.
And so does Colby Wooden most of the time.
Yep.
So if you've got 2 guys that you can get in there and they can command the double team without causing a problem, and you rush 5, we got a better opportunity to get the quarterback this year than we got to the quarterback some last year. We were good in our loss, but we've got to finish the pass rush a little better than we did.
Yes,
so I'm not
100% agree.
I'm not going to take anything away from last year's pass rush, other than small little tidbits here and there. And that's too long to get into. But if we've got a couple of guys that can really command a double team at all times, we're in a really good spot.
Yeah,
Jeffrey is like this dark horse guy that a lot of people say, nope, he's going to be starting. It's fine. Dude hadn't played a whole lot of college ball. He
right.
is.
It'll take a minute.
He is as athletic as they come for a big guy. I mean, he's massive, and he's going to play just off of his sheer athleticism. He's going to play, but I don't think he's going to come in and be a starter, and I don't think he's going to get out there and play 15, 20 snaps in a row in a rotation.
Right.
I think
I agree. You and I are on the same wavelength with a lot of these guys. That maybe the Joko Willis thing, it surprises me a little bit. Not that I don't think he's not going to be good. It's just that's not where I look particularly for the surprise player to come from. But the point stands. It's going to be probably take a lot of people in the SEC opponents off guard how good this defensive line edge could really be. Kevlar wants us to talk about linebackers. You'll have to come back next week because I'm sure we will do that in his book next week. I do have someone waiting on the line, so if you had some final thoughts on defensive line and edge rushing position.
Morris Joseph, just because we didn't touch on him very much, he adds depth experience. He's only 270, 275, 6'2", so similar to Marcus Harris when he came in last year. But Morris Joseph played inside and outside from everything I can find film-wise in Memphis. So he's a multi-positional type guy, and the majority of our defensive linemen, with maybe the exception of Jason Jones, he could probably hit the three technique real well, are multi-dimensional defensive linemen, and that's great.
Yeah, I agree
so
with
we
that.
can put 4 edge guys out there and get pressure, or we can put 3 big guys and 1 speed guy out there and go 4 down right there, and we're still going to have athletes on the field. That's good for us.
You got me more excited than I already was for the edge and the defensive line position now, because you're right. The variety which Auburn has seemed to switch to now on defense, playing a multiple style with a base type of rush, at least. They've got the players, they've got the experience, they've got the young talent. Could be really scary for some opponents and really exciting for us. Before you go, I want a prediction in the first game. How many sacks does Derek Hall get?
Oh, him specifically?
Yes.
Give me him at 1.5 and give me the total defense at 4.
Total defensive 4. I like it. Well, Thomas, thank you so much, man, for hanging out with us and sharing your insights on all the hard work you do studying film for us.
Absolutely. Y'all have a good evening. E2C for life. War Eagle.
War Eagle, buddy. Thank you. All right. That was Thomas. Great to hear from you. Like we said, come back next week and we'll likely talk linebackers, or he may throw you a curveball and do defensive backs. But he's been meeting with us every week talking about his insights on that. We very much appreciated that. Real quick, before we go to our next caller, a couple things. Do want to draw your attention to, it's up in this corner, Kyle, All Things Auburn, who this stream is brought to you by. Those are our friends over there. Talk to Tanya for a place not just to stay in Auburn, but to have a full Auburn experience. Yes, they have condos that you can rent. Obviously, it gets a little bit tough and crowded during football season, but don't forget them during other sports seasons and non-sports seasons as well. Allthingsauburn.net is where you want to check them out. We had a South Carolina fan check in with us, says he missed playing us. Don't know if you want to play us this year, but thanks for being here. All right, let's talk to our next caller, Mr. Kevin. How are you doing, sir? Thank you for your patience.
War Eagle, Cal.
War Eagle, buddy. I appreciate you being patient on the line and hanging out there. What you wearing tonight? What you got on there? Is that Cody Burns? Cody Burns? Is that who that is?
Seth Williams jersey.
Well, it's the same number, right? So for me, I'm a Cody Burns guy. Love that dude to death. I got a man crush on him. That's weird.
I got 2 players who plays for Auburn, number 18 and number 10. Von Puckett and Nehemiah Pritchett.
Nehemiah Pritchett? Yep.
I bet they'd be the 2 main players.
So on the defense, yes. So you got Nehemiah Pritchett, who's going to be a starting, as far as we know, cornerback, and Zion Puckett is going to be a starting safety, probably, or star position.
How about Owen Popo?
Owen is going to be a starter as long as he can stay healthy. that's the big question for Owen. Owen, it's not a question of he's one of the vocal leaders of the team. He is a beast when he's out there and healthy. He's just got to stay healthy.
Did that guy named Marquise Robinson ever come back to Auburn?
Now you're making me question. If somebody in the chat knows that, please tell us. I cannot remember. I think so.
Yeah, I think so. He withdrew his name. Then he came back to Auburn.
I believe so. There was so much going on with the portal, man, this year that it's hard to keep all of it straight.
And I think Jalen Simpson will do good too.
Jalen Simpson, to me, is the guy that you look to for your leadership and for just a lot of stability at defensive back. Nehemiah too, but I think he's the guy who needs to fill Roger McCreary's shoes, right? We've seen the talent. We just need him to be ready to seize the moment like Roger did when he came in, and sky's the limit for him.
How about Derek Hall?
What about Derek Hall? Are you talking about a beast?
Yeah,
He is. I mean, the dude has no neck whatsoever. He's just all muscle. He's fast. He's talented. There's a reason I call him the Hall Monitor. You get it as a dad joke.
I like what Thomas said about Kobe Wooden and Jacko Willis.
Jacko Willis. Yep. You must have your roster in front of you.
I think Jeremiah Wright will be playing good too.
So Jeremiah Wright, yes, he is a guy that's flipped from, I can't remember where he is now, but he is, I think it's offensive line. Maybe I'm wrong, but he's done.
It says defense tackle in my Auburn program.
Okay, that's probably where he is now. It's flopped back and forth. He's another guy that people are really high on, especially Coach Harsin. When he talked about him last year in a press conference when they were wanting an update on his injury, he just lit up when he talked about him, kind of like the way he did about Holden Gerner. And it's a shame he wasn't able to participate last year. So again, like Owen Peppo, if he's healthy, we'll find out if he's the real deal.
I will miss watching Chandler Woodson play.
We will. I think we will miss him in more ways than one, especially if Owen cannot stay healthy. That's probably the one scary part for me. But yeah.
And I think the wide receivers will do their best this year too.
Well, if they'll catch the ball and hang on to it, that is true. They gotta hang on to it though.
And the Braves winning 2-1 right now.
I appreciate you giving me the update on that, buddy. Well, hey, thanks for calling in this week, and we appreciate you showing us off your gear. Give me a new jersey next week. What's that?
Where you get your shirt at?
This one was given to me by a friend who was in the locker room at the championship game.
Oh my!
Yeah. He said, "Oh my." Hey, sometimes it pays to have friends, right?
Hey, does Cam Newton still play for Carolina Panthers?
He does. For how much longer is a great question.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin.
I might see you at one of the games this year.
Yes, we will make it happen, Kevin. In fact, I demand it. So we need to see each other. So hopefully that'll be sooner rather than later.
Okay, War Eagle. Good night.
All right, War Eagle. Good night. All right, we got another caller who just got in there too, so hang tight there, caller. We'll get to you in just a second. I know we're missing a bunch of y'all's comments and questions. We'll try to come back to some of those at the end of tonight, but we are getting closer towards when I'll have to sign off. Still quite a few minutes though. Reminder for you, please do the survey if you can. I'm going to post the link again in the chat. If you can, if you are even just a one-time person of following what we do here on YouTube, on our podcast, on social media, it is of huge help to know the information that goes into this survey. It's really easy to do. It's just a simple multiple choice. There's like a slider thing. That is the big thing that if you do anything for us tonight, I would ask that you do. We'll be posting it out on social media tomorrow. So if you can't get the link tonight or you forgot it or whatever, there's going to be reminders. We'll keep it open for about a week. So just want to throw that reminder in there for you. Another one of our regulars, one of our Booster Club members, one of our guys that's even done some podcasts for us. You know him, you love him. Dusty, what's up, sir?
Hey, buddy, I missed you.
I have missed you too. Is it, I don't know where you are
Okay,
right
go
now
ahead.
and all this, but how's everything going?
So I'll kind of come out and tell everybody what's happened just because so many people y'all have asked and everything. My dad fell off of a golf cart. He hit his head on the sidewalk, just trying to have a good time. But he has a severe brain injury, like traumatic brain injury, fractured skull. We really didn't think he was going to make it that night.
Wow.
But obviously, good Lord was looking out and he did. It's just going to be a long recovery. Like he just had a visit yesterday with a neurologist and they said that everything's getting better. But,
Good.
like for me and my brother, it's frustrating because that's our Superman, right? It's your dad. And
Yep.
I've never heard my dad say he hurts. I've never heard him say one time he was in pain. And this is the first time I've ever heard, he acknowledges it. So, it's a tough deal, like you're not really used to having to feed your dad and take, it's just kind of like that. But, we're encouraged that everything's going to get better. And, the overwhelming support and prayers from the Auburn family is just ridiculous. And I can tell you that, like, as I'm just getting mauled by my cat over here. Say what's up, buddy.
Hey, little kitty.
He's going crazy. But the just everybody's support, we definitely feel the prayers, man. And it did my dad, like Sonny's mom reached out on Twitter and said we're praying for you and stuff. And that brightened my dad's day up a lot when he was in the hospital.
Nice.
So he's home now, he's getting better. It's just gonna be a long road. So, appreciate everybody. I really do. It meant the world for me. That was a crazy week.
Well, I know it's still not easy, but that's exactly what I wanted to hear. So obviously I think you've acknowledged that you've seen it, but we will reiterate that you have a lot of people, prayer warriors here, that you have a lot of people wishing you well. So you got your
God's
support.
got us, man. God's got us.
Absolutely. What's on your mind? Let's talk about some more fun things. What's on your mind tonight?
I want to shout out Cocky. He said we're going to stick to football. My guy at E2C, we do hockey, we do everything. So, I need my broom back from the baseball season. And next time we play in basketball, can y'all please have like at least 1,000 people in the stands so it can resemble a basketball game?
Dang.
So, like.
Can I say this though about basketball? I'm very sad that they don't have Frank Martin there anymore. I love that man as a coach. Every time I watched him, I loved his basketball, the way he coaches basketball.
Yeah, I love him too.
Very similar to Bruce Pearl in some ways, not as vocal, but similar. And I hate that he couldn't. I think it was health reasons he couldn't keep going. Or I mean, I think it was a combo, like health and the program had slipped. So yes, it was nice to kind of go walk into it will be nice to walk into a arena with South Carolina in the future and know that Frank Martin's not there, because I was worried about it every time we played them. So
he's a good coach, and I mean, that football coach they got right now, like he overachieved. He's doing better. So I'm not, they're a good program, man, and they appear to be doing good. But don't come to E2C and act like you're gonna stick to just football when we beat you in a lot of other stuff. That's not how we get. That's not how we get down here. So on this recruiting thing, man. It's not like, I'm kind of like you. I'm a little bit more into it, but I understand that like the kid, Caden Story was just going to come to Auburn. He was committed to Auburn.
I forgot about him.
Right. Yeah. And he just whatever happens on signing day, we didn't find out. Thank you, Cocky. I appreciate that, buddy. It's just sports. It's all fun and games.
Exactly.
But we don't take this stuff personal.
Right.
So, but what was I talking about?
We were talking about recruiting, the disappointments of it, Caden's Story. That's kind of where you're going.
Yeah. So I mean, it was signing day. It was like we had guys were rolling in. They were sending in their letters of intent, and then it was like, oh. And then at first he said he was going to commit later. Blah 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 blah. So you just don't know.
Right.
But like and if you look at every specific case, you're like, okay, well, there's a reason here. But the concern, and when I said it's kind of getting hard to ignore. The concern is the overall. Like, now, okay, Harson's been here for a little bit now.
Yeah.
And I'm not putting it all on Harson. I kind of have my suspicions that we ain't busting the money out enough. But I don't have the info on that. But I'm kind of hearing some things, and it doesn't seem to me like we're paying what other schools are paying. And if you're not going to play the game, you're going to get left behind.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I think that's kind of funny because Auburn has always kind of been known. Remember the Pat Dye Black Book? Like, come on, guys. Now it's legal. Let's do it.
Why are you holding back now?
Yeah, I mean, come on. This is what we do, right? And I hope you're right about that, Rob. I do. But see, that's the thing. That's where the concern reaches in. We keep hearing that. Like I will take Brock Glenn, for example. He was going to commit before the Elite 11. He wanted to represent a school at the Elite 11.
Yeah.
He was Auburn. He was all Auburn. It was coming any day. Ohio State throws an offer in. He goes up there. LSU throws an offer in. Okay. Now we don't know. Carmelo English was a wide receiver from Phoenix City. We really need to start landing guys from Phoenix City. They put out talent every single year, and we just don't get them. We don't get any of them, man. They all go to Bama or they go across the state to Georgia.
Yep.
Everyone was saying
real quick. Let me real quick on that, because I want to reiterate what you just said there. There's this halo, I want to call it, of, you talk about Auburn's the central point, right? Don't let the guys, the big ones, out of Auburn without going to Auburn. It's hard. I mean, it's harder than it sounds, but then you've got this halo of like Phoenix City down to, you know, I know there's not a lot of players that come out of Eufaula, but like through Eufaula, right, back up to Montgomery, back around to, you know, the lower below Birmingham area, that should be Auburn. That should be Auburn just going, come on in. Don't let it go. So just to your point, I wanted to reiterate that.
And like I said, they put out a lot of talent, and we just don't get them. So like I said, it's an accumulation. Like, recruiting didn't go well last year, especially in the back half. And yes, there was other things involved in that, but like when National Signing Day came, we had only four guys that we were going after. We missed on all of them, and there was no backup plans. We already know about all that. There's literally why there was an investigation about not going to the banquet and that kind of thing, the Georgia high school banquet. There's just a lot of golf tournaments being missed, all these things that go into recruiting. And, you know, like Devin is asking questions, you know, and I want to try to explain it to her. So like a pro sports, right? You have these huge scouting departments, GMs. I mean, talent accumulation is a huge part of it. It's not all of it. A lot of things go into being a successful sports program, but you have got to get talent that matches your system, guys that you know that you can develop and can work with. And you've got to get good players. Like, you have to. And yes, sometimes these guys that are 5 stars don't end up being 5 stars, and you'll get a Roger McCreary that's a 3. And it's not a perfect science, but go grab 15, 20, 4 and 5 stars, land on a couple of those 3 stars. Yeah, some of them are going to pan out. Some guys will, you know, it'll go like that. But if you get a bunch of them, it'll kind of pan out. So the concern with what's going on in recruiting right now is just like Carmelo English was a wide receiver. Everyone knows the help we need a wide receiver. It's kind of one of them deals where, again, you don't know for sure, but like you watch this guy's film and it's just like, all right, man, this guy's probably going to work out. He was going to commit on Saturday. All of a sudden, I'm backing out. Everybody on the couple of recruiting sites that I look at, he was 90-something%. He was coming Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
Man, if we don't land Cobb, the running back out of Montgomery, on Friday, you thought you were going to have 2 big 4-star commits this weekend. Then you don't. And like, we are just kind of starting to fall behind. And it gets to that point to where it's like, everyone keeps telling everybody, trust Harsin, trust Harsin, trust Harsin. Well, everyone's built different, you know, like everyone does. Uses trust is different to everybody. For me personally, in any aspect of life, you get trust when you earn it. And like, I haven't seen anything from anybody on this staff they're not doing the recruit. Like, we spent so much, because coming into this month, right? I wasn't worried about it at all, because I knew how many kids were coming in this month. I heard that even the boosters, everybody was all in as far as whatever these guys need for these visits to make them work. Let's do it.
Right.
No, nothing, man. We've got nothing yet. Nothing.
Yeah.
And
well,
then,
we've got 2, but I know what you mean. I understand.
They were before all these visits, though.
Yeah,
I'm talking about these visits. We have yet to get anything. If anything, we seem to be farther away. There's another 5-star edge out of Montgomery. I want to say he's out of Montgomery Carver.
Yeah, I know who. What's his name?
I want to say it's Rusall.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Or Falk. It's either Rusall or Falk.
Falk. I think it's Falk.
Yeah. So Locke, right? Gonna go Auburn. He's announced in July the 5th. And we'll see. You know, these things are fickle. But now all of a sudden it's he's going to Clemson. And it's just like, Okay, well that's Montgomery. Right now, and me and you talked previously about this is they say this is the deepest class Alabama's ever had. Look at the top 10 prospects coming out of Alabama right now.
Right.
You know how many are committed to us? Do you know how many were even on their list?
Oh, committed?
Anything, did even considering us. So, I mean,
I don't know that much, but I think it's one out of the state.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not good.
Yeah.
It's really bad. And this is Auburn. This is not UAB or something. We're the second school. And as far right now, I mean, we all can acknowledge Alabama's ahead of us at the football game right now.
Right.
But we should be in there for some of those guys, man. So that's the concern. That's where it comes from. And the longer it goes on, the more you're going to see this angst rise. I'm not somebody that's claiming doomsday. You know, we come out and start the season well, and you know, it's all going to be okay. Because I feel like a lot of it is just like if I was a kid, my kid was getting recruited, and
You're going exactly where I was going. I see where you're going.
If Auburn was what it wanted to, you know, where my kid wanted to go or where I wanted to go, I would say, hey, okay, you ain't got to commit today. Let's just wait and see how this season goes. Because if you go all in and commit or something, and then this season doesn't go well, Harson's out anyway, and everybody knows that. So then what? Then it's you kind of just wasted your time. So I never expected it to be a big thing, but like I'll take, you know, there's a kid that's committed to Ohio State, a cornerback, right? He came down for a visit. He said, best visit I've ever had. I love the campus. I was blown away by the coaches. I was blown away by the fans and the way I was treated. You know what? Then you know what he said after that? Oh, I'm 100% committed to Ohio State. Okay, so that's that's where the frustration comes in.
Because here's where I'll differ from you a little bit. I never ever believe what these kids say in terms of I'm not talking about like, and I don't mean that you're being fooled. I mean that when I see a kid, the commitment part, I have to just take them at their word, right? You know, that they're not going to flip on us, but you see how that works out.
Right.
But when I see a kid say, best visit I ever said, you're just saying that because you got there and you're hoping they'll invite you back or what, you know, like those type of things. I find very things to take. What am I trying to say? To me, what a kid says after a visit doesn't really mean anything to me. In fact, frankly, I think what they don't say means more to me than that. If they walk away and they didn't say anything, they didn't get a statement out of them, that kind of tells you right there, right?
Yeah.
But when they say things, it kind of, you don't really know, are they lying? Are they being sincere? And that just comes from knowing or trying to know the kid as best as you can. Here's what I will say. I think Auburn is 1-2 commits away with a excellent start of the season from this thing going. If you get Jeremiah Cobb to commit and then just throw somebody else, a Brock Glenn, you know, before the season starts, then you start getting that success behind there, like you had already addressed. There's going to be that, okay, things seem like they're back on track, at least to start the season off. Can I go ahead and pull the trigger? Because I think you took it from a very reasonable approach as a parent of a kid. You may want to go there. Don't just throw your eggs in one basket and, you know, have to decommit and all that stuff. So I think there's a lot at play with it. It can get very, very frustrating. It's part of the reason I had to separate from it as much as I did, because it was for me personally, it was super. If you could have seen me, Dusty, I mean, I'm talking just sitting in front of a computer, just refreshing the entire time. Like I catch myself. Anyway, so
see, that's just one of my favorite things about sports. Anyway, is just talent accumulation. You know, how come this piece fit here? What is this guy good at? That kind of thing. I just love that stuff anyway. But yeah, you gotta be careful, man, because they're 17, 18 years old, and I was a idiot at 17, 18 years old.
I'm still an idiot.
Yeah, I hear you on that. I hear you on that. Which is scary to think about what we were, right?
Yep. I was having a conversation with a friend recently about just not even sports related, just that, and we were talking about like, man, you talk so much differently. And it's like, yeah, if I talk differently now and I'm still a loser, what do you think that said about me back then? Anyway. All right. Well, hey, thanks for calling in tonight. Anything you want to close? Yeah, go ahead.
What are you hearing about the NIL stuff? Is this kind of becoming an issue to where the money's not getting ponied up?
I hear a lot of the same things that you guys are hearing, that maybe some people, let me just put it to you this way. My feeling on is this: certain people with money are stingy with their money, sometimes for good reason. And we saw that with Coach Malzahn. Whether you agree with that or not, we won't get into that tonight. You know, they, whoever those people are, I think they need to see some forward progress, and last year made those less stingy habits revert back. That would be my interpretation. That is not based off information. That is just my feeling of following Auburn sports for the last 2 decades of my life, you know, as adamantly as I have. So there's no information that I have. There's no insights other than what you guys are seeing, what you're hearing on message boards and stuff like that. I think there is some of that going on. And I think it's frankly okay for them to be that way, but they reap the benefits and they suffer the consequences of their team if they don't support in the way they can. If I could, I would.
Hey, you ain't lying about that, man. I was telling somebody the other day, if I came up on $1 billion, my joke always used to be, now that it don't matter with the NL, but I always used to say, Auburn better hope I don't get $1 billion, because we're gonna be in trouble. We're gonna be like Miami. Hey, and then I promise to let you go after this. I'll exit, I'll exit out and you can answer it as we're going. Anything up on baseball facility upgrades?
No, I haven't heard anything, but there's now beat writers starting to really push for that, especially when you start seeing that happen. I think that's going to start applying the necessary pressure. That I think the pressure was already there because of the body of work that Butch Thompson has put out. I think with Frank Thomas becoming more vocally supportive and more publicly supportive of the program, I think that's going to push it. What that means, I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine a world where there is some significant updates that are coming this next year. Will there be some maybe additions or things like, the statues coming up? That's an obvious thing. For me, I would expect 2 years down the road, because I think if Butch does this again, they're going to want to do it right. And if the attendance, you saw the figure today, right? About the attendance just skyrocketed this year.
Which is what we asked for all before the season. It was beautiful.
Exactly. And so if that happens again, then they have to respond. I think, as we talked about, quote unquote, being stingy, right or wrong, I think people want to see continued body of work, especially in this economy, before they really heavily invest in that. And that goes for the university and everything too. So
yes, sir. Hey, looking forward to the Hayden Mullins thing, buddy.
Yes, I am very excited about that. So we'll talk more about that soon. Let you guys in on that a little bit. So thank you guys thank you for your support, and obviously for we're still in prayer for your dad.
I appreciate it. I love all y'all. War Eagle blood.
War Eagle. All right, great callers as always tonight. We will have to close down the phone lines. I do have to head out, but I know we didn't hit a lot of y'all's comments and questions tonight. But that's the nature of getting to call in. You kind of have me monopolized for a little while there. But thank you guys so much for being vigilant and being here. Again, putting it in the chat right now. We'll be posting on social media this week. If you can do this one thing for me, that's all I'm asking. I give you usually a laundry list of things to do. Still like the video if you haven't. Please go do this survey. It is about our YouTube content, our social media content, about our podcast. Even if you do just one of those things, or even if you just barely even do any of those things, this is helpful to let us know what to spend time on and what not to spend time on as a network and as a content provider to you. You are the blood of this vessel. I'm trying to think of analogies and they're just falling out of me right now. Anyway, you guys are the best little family within the Auburn family, and I appreciate you so much. Hope to see you here next Wednesday when we go live again for your calls, your questions, and your comments, because it's your show here on our Auburn Family live streams. Until then, or before then, stay tuned on the channel.